So last Sunday, we could go today, a guy by the name of Greg Kirsch, who writes a blog called Norwest Review, started this new line of thought on a particular member of the county council, in this case Sam Crawford. And the idea goes like this, that because of the business that Sam Crawford is in, he is a land use consultant, simply because of that, there is a apparent conflict of interest that could cause some substantial problems for Mr. Crawford in his ability to be able to be involved in any sort of land use issues on the county council. The blog post is very interesting. It doesn't give any specific proof at all. It just simply says, and obviously I'm sort of summarizing here, but it simply says because he's involved in land use on a broad basis, he probably ought not to be on the county council. That whole line of thought sort of continues with environmental activist Wendy Harris, who went on to say that she's not alleging that he's done anything wrong, but that by the very nature of his profession, he has a conflict by sitting on the council. And the question in my mind then came up that is it possible for someone to be ineligible to serve in public office simply because of their job? Is it in essence wrong for Sam Crawford to be a member of the county council because he happens to be involved in an area of work where there are things time to time that are going to come before the county council? Now, not surprisingly, and I agree with him, Sam Crawford says no. Obviously he can do what he does for a living and still serve on the county council. And not only that, he has listed in a response to Kirsch's post a couple of specific instances where he has recused himself from a vote simply because he could appear to have a conflict of interest. And in fact, in one case, the rules didn't require that he recused himself. It was a project that was near to one that he had been involved in. He wasn't going to realize any additional financial benefit off of the change that was coming before the county council, and yet he recused himself just so there was no appearance at all of any conflict of interest. My concern is that, time and time again in this county, we seem to get into this issue where we're not discussing issues. We're not debating the merits of specific things that come before a political body. We get more involved in trying to go after people, trying to say that they ought not to even be part of the discussion. It's the same sort of thing as the attitude of the city of Bellingham 6.5 years ago under the prior mayor, where the business community wasn't consulted about things. In fact, there was this attitude that they ought to just stay away from City Hall. We don't want their opinions about things. It's just the people who live here, and the job of the business community is to do their business here, pay their taxes, and other than that, sort of keep their mouths shut. Rather than being inclusive, bringing everyone to the table to talk about issues of concern to our community and how we might solve those problems, this is yet another example of saying, you know what, we don't want to include you because we don't like you, we don't like what you do, we don't like how you make your money, whatever it is. It's this ongoing feeling of I'm going to make these decisions and I'm going to decide who gets to sit at the table and who doesn't. And I think that we have to come to a realization that if we're going to be successful in Whatcom County, which is a very politically, a very broad-based county, folks on all different sides of issues, coming from all different viewpoints, we have to include everyone at the table in those discussions. We can't pick people out who we don't want to be there. Now, if these two individuals have a specific accusation about Councilmember Crawford, bring them forward. Tell us what it is that you think is so horrible about a person who is making money in an honest way in this community, also choosing to give of his time to serve on the county council. What is your accusation? But if you don't have one, then why not spend your time finding ways to include the council member and folks who agree with him politically in these discussions, rather than basically trying to push him aside because you don't particularly like how he makes his money, or you think that because he makes his money a certain way, he's going to vote on issues not in the public interest. We can't make these decisions about who's going to serve and who's not going to serve simply because we're concerned about what someone might do. We have to have actual facts about problems that they've caused, or you just need to stop this. You've got to find a way to be able to include everyone at the table. And hopefully going forward, we're going to see more of that. I'm not holding my breath, but it just seems to me that all too often we get into these arguments about who ought to be sitting at the table rather than just bringing everyone to the table, addressing these problems, and moving forward. And I, for one, setting aside whether I agree with Sam Crawford politically or not, I, for one, am very happy with the fact that he has done what he thinks he has to do to address any potential conflicts of interest. He's gotten the support of Dan McShane, a former council member who politically doesn't really see eye to eye with Sam, who said, no, Sam's absolutely right in this case. He's done what he has to do when it comes to conflict of interest issues. So hopefully this issue goes away, but it just seems to me that even if this particular group stops going after Sam Crawford personally, that they're going to find some other person that they don't like, that they're going to go after, say that they shouldn't be giving back to the public in whatever way that they are, because of some conflict of interest that they've come up with in their own minds, and there isn't actual facts to back it up.